Hey guys, how are you? It is Allison from Allison Answers and Logger Counseling Services. What we're going to be doing today is we're talking about month 2, week 2 of our therapeutic membership. And our month is about emotional well-being, which is a primary thing that we want to do, that we want to create in our lives, and we don't want to let go of it. We want to make sure that we are on top of that every single moment of our life, that we're aware of our well-being, of our emotional state. And one of the ways to do that, well, I think the primary way is always to be aware of the truth. So when I talk to you guys about being awake and aware in the now without judgment, I want you guys to remember that almost like a mantra. Am I awake in this moment? Am I aware? Am I in the now, in this moment? What is actually really happening inside of me, right? And when you're aware of that, knowing the truth, then the next step is to be certain that you are not judging yourself or others. Because anything that, like what I was sharing last week, what I was discussing was that fear is the base emotion for all emotions. So that are negative, excuse me. Fear is the base emotion for all negative emotions, and love is the base ingredient for all positive emotions. So we want to do as much as we can every moment of every day, shifting from fear, the disorganization and discomfort and the cruelty and the difficulty of fear that brings forth so many negative things in our lives. We want to shift toward love, which produces everything right and good in our lives and in the lives around us. And it keeps us insulated in a way from other people, places, and things, what they think, what they're doing, what they're feeling, how they're acting, because we understand that when you're in a state of love, when you're in a state of, people will call it optimism. I never use that word because I'm talking about a real state of being, because when you feel a really warm and intense state of love, which I believe comes from, as a person of faith, I believe that it comes from the God of my understanding. And I believe that when you have that love inside of you and you love yourself to this unbelievable depth, because that's really so much of the formula to having an emotional state of well-being, because when we really, really have a state of love inside of ourselves for ourselves, we cannot help but love others. It just drips and oozes out of us. So the emotions that are inside of us, like fear, worry, hatred, anger, resentment, guilt, shame, all of those things also leak. So this week, we're talking about anger and resentment. So just like I said last week, that fear has many, many faces, and it shows up in different ways. It shows up in irritability. It shows up in all sorts of things. It also shows up in anger. Fear is anger. Anger is fear's bodyguard. So what I'm going to ask you to do this week coming, this is your challenge, and I want you to be very, very awake and aware in regard to it. I want you to be very aware of your resentments. Part of your PDF and the questions that I have for you is I'm having you write out every resentment that you have in your life, whether it's towards people, places, things, years of your life, God, society, government, whatever it is, your own self. You'd be surprised how much resentment people have towards themselves. Every time they tell themselves they're going to do something and then they don't show up for themselves, they build another little brick in the wall of resentment in their body. And resentment is just hardened chunks of anger inside that cause all sorts of problems. I've always called resentment for women, it's like a silent killer. And it just makes them just never feel right. And it makes them bound to so many different people, places, and things, and situations, and societal things, and all different kinds of things that are really burdening them. So, and it could be resentment toward the beauty industry. It could be resentment towards your body. It could be resentment towards someone else's success. And that could be like a hidden resentment because of your own hurt, that maybe you haven't gone into your greatness and found your purpose. Whatever it is, you're going to be writing an exhaustive list throughout this week. Whenever you think of something that you resent, I want you to write it down, because remember, our formula here is the first thing we do is that we're awake and aware, which means that we operate only in the truth. The truth is the doorway to all freedom. So that's what we're doing We're going to be awake and aware to the fact that we have a gazillion resentments that are like in our body, and we want to know what they are. So that's part of your PDF. Another part of it is you're going to be looking at each day that you're living. You're going to be looking at Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday and Saturday and Sunday. You're going to be looking at, what am I angry about today? And then you're going to be asking yourself, what is it that I'm really angry about? So you're going to notice that when I ask you a question, I say, what are you angry about? What do you resent? What is it that you're feeling? Most often people say, because he, because she, because that, because when, because this. And every answer to anger, I have found, typically when somebody has not grown to a place where they understand that all anger is about themselves, that it's not about other people, it's not about anything outside of themselves. So when we feel angry at someone else, the most important thing for everybody to be doing now is to be recognizing and going inward. I talked in the Zoom call about emotional sobriety. Emotional sobriety is when I feel a feeling, I do not immediately go outward towards some other person, place, thing, or event. I never do that. What I do is I go inward. And I'm not specifically talking about me. I'm saying this is what emotional sobriety is. So what we want to do is when we have a strong feeling, we want to go inward and ask ourselves, what is it about this situation? Not the person. What is it about what this person did that has given me an opportunity to feel this bad feeling? What is it about? What is the threat to me as a person when someone doesn't do something that I need or want, or they say the thing that hurts me, right? We want to ask ourselves a question. It's people immediately who are emotionally drunk, they go outward toward the other person and they look at the other person's behavior, which what that means is that you have abandoned yourself in that moment. You have left yourself to go blame someone else for what's happening inside of you. We never tinker outside to correct what's happening inside. We always clean house first. So you want to know what's happening inside. You want your house in order. Then you can address anything outside. So if someone says something, you want to ask yourself the question, what am I afraid of by what that person just said? I'm afraid that they don't like me. I'm afraid that they think I'm dumb. I'm afraid that blah, blah, blah. What am I afraid of? Because typically anger is about some form of fear, some form of instability, some type of threat. And you want to always know what that is, because what you may realize when you start to notice all the different things you're angry at, you might notice that you have a noose around your neck. Our body is a full record of memory. Everything that we've ever experienced in our life is stored in our body. And really what we're doing emotionally and spiritually in this program, in this membership, is we are overcoming our body. We are overcoming the temporal experience of being inside of a body and being in an environment that really, honestly, I will tell you, is that our experience here on this earth is only experienced through our five senses. And our five senses cannot take in information at the rate at which the information is coming in. So we do not take in information at the speed of light. Most information that's around us, everywhere around us, we are bombarded and surrounded by information all around us that we cannot process because we do not process at the speed of light. Our thoughts move faster than the speed of light. So they have incredible power to create things because they move outside of the realm of our limited ability to process information. So you want to be very aware of what you're thinking and what it's creating in your life. So being awake and being aware and being understanding that there's a higher level of thinking, that there's a higher level of infinite intelligence, of infinite wisdom, of, the mind of God is what I would call it. And basically what you want to understand is, what is the real damn reason I'm angry? What is the real damn reason I'm resenting? Because every person on this earth is going to support you in the misery of the anger that you're feeling, and they will join you in blaming the other person. Whether the other person is right or wrong is not relevant. That is not where we belong. We belong in our own bodies, understanding our bodies and overcoming them. So what you're going to be doing this week is being very, very aware of the things that anger you, the people that you continue to feel angry at. And you want to ask yourself the question, what is it that keeps me bound to this anger? They did this, they did that, it doesn't matter. So them doing that created an opportunity for you to feel this. So what is it that you are actually feeling? What is it about another human being's choice, another human being's behavior that has that much power over years upon years upon years of your life? That is a very important question. What you want to be in a state of being that is intolerant of resentment, intolerant of staying in a state of anger. You can utilize anger as a guide. You can utilize it to say, okay, I feel this feeling. I'm just doing something right up here. I'm not ignoring you, ladies. I'm making my screen a little smaller because I'm going to read something to you about our PDF. I just want to make sure I have it in front of me. Okay, so what I want you to think about is, what was the feeling beneath the feeling? What was the actual threat felt by that other person's behavior? The behavior itself is not relevant. I can hear you guys going, yes, it is too relevant. Don't you think he shouldn't have done that? I don't care if they should have done it or not. It doesn't matter. We're talking about ourselves. Are we going to fix ourselves by changing somebody else? Never. I swear it's never going to happen. Okay. Now, my question here is, when you are angry, what is the primary reason you become angry? Now, you're not mentioning anybody outside of yourself. What you're going to see is, what is the common theme in my anger experiences? And you're going to find that it's a common experience inside of you. It might be a threat. What is your biggest fear in life, right? Can you picture the moment of anger and the fear that's underneath it, or the old memory that's underneath it that drives you to feel what you feel? Because if you can identify that, remember in the very beginning of our membership, the first month, we talked about the blueprint. You want to know what your blueprint is for anger. What is your blueprint? What is the core belief that's running and driving your anger and not allowing you to be free? Remember what our goal is. Do you remember? It is freedom. It is release from all things outside of us. Release. Do you understand what I'm saying? When I'm going to ask you to do another thing here. I just wanted to see what I had. So when we talked about last week, I'm digressing a little bit because I didn't want to forget it. Last week, we talked about fear and all the different many faces of fear. I want you to also look at that with anger, because anger gets disguised in other things. It can be disguised in like irritability, silence, numbness, insecurity, feeling guilt, rage, displaced anger, focusing on something else. So let's say you really feel like we're angry at something, and then all of a sudden you're just like pissed off that you dropped something. Passive aggressive behavior we're going to address, sarcasm, making like cutting jokes, gaslighting people. I want you to ask yourself the question, how does your anger show itself? Does it show itself behind, is it behind a smile? Is it over apologizing for something because you actually know how angry you feel at that person and now you think they're mad at you? You feel like you can see their anger. So now you're going to over apologize. You're going to overcompensate because you're afraid of your own anger. How do you express your anger? Do you or don't you? Have you ever been passive aggressive? Now, this is the concept. Being passive aggressive is when we have a feeling of anger or someone else has a feeling of anger and we take a shot, but the shot is not clear. It's kind of subtle and it can always be backpedaled from. So it can be a sarcastic joke. It can be saying something, and then when you address it, or let's say you say something to someone else, oh, like you're always late or whatever, oh, you always do that. And then they say this and you go, oh no, I was only kidding. Now the person's left with the feeling. They feel crazy. You got your anger out, but now you don't have to own it. So you want to ask yourself the question, how often am I communicating anger without communicating it directly? Very important. Another thing is when people say, oh, you have to just let people know how you feel. Well, there's a little bit more to that. I have a different perspective. I think that before you go around telling people, I'm angry at you, I didn't like what you do, you better find out the reason that you really feel the anger first. What is it that they're threatening in you? Is it your state of well-being? Is it the sense of that you're valuable on this earth? Is it what did their behavior mean to you? And first you want to know that, but before you start putting your shit in somebody else's toilet bowl and expecting them to flush it. Very often people who feel anger won't express it, particularly women, because they're afraid of conflict. So they'll have all this silent anger, which turns into resentment, and it comes out in like little leaks of anger. And we don't want that. That is a very commonplace thing for women. And that's why I want you to know that this is a silent killer. You see women who are just feeling just all these feelings, and they go talk to one another about it, and they bitch and they complain. And then the people are like, no, I understand. I would feel the same way, girl. You should be mad. And it's like women are looking for a reality check saying, oh, should I be mad? Well, wait a minute. The question is not whether or not you should be mad. Like, the question is, do you want to be mad? Because being mad is not resolving the problem. Being mad is hurting you. Being in a state of fear and negativity and poor thinking about someone else lowers everything in your energy level. It lowers everything in your demeanor. It takes from your life. It doesn't add value. If you're really thinking of your life and you're thinking about adding value to your life, if someone did something that you didn't like, how valuable is it to not tell them and then to just carry anger? How beneficial is it to be angry and then tell them in an inappropriate way that causes a rift in the relationship? How valuable is that for you? It's not valuable at all. You want to know what was it that really got brought up. A real conversation is like, hey, honey, listen, this is what just happened. When you said what you said, this is what I felt. I felt so insecure. I felt so less than. I don't know what happened, but it just really hit me like the wrong way. Did you actually mean it that way? That's a real conversation. You're giving the person an opportunity to communicate what they really meant and for you to describe what you really felt without blaming them and attacking them for what you perceive as an attack on you. Okay. You want to, if you've been a recipient of passive aggressive behavior, what you want to ask the question, what feelings arose for you when that happened? Because usually it's a feeling of like guilt or like, oh, you're choking, I'm choking. Or like you've done something wrong. Or like you've let someone down, or you feel guilty, or you feel angry yourself. Passive aggressive people need anger to be expressed. And if it's not expressed, they find a way to have you express it, but they don't have to. So I want you to consider that. Excuse me, ladies, I'm choking. Okay. Now, this is your really big challenge for the week. If I give you guys a lot of extra content to work on, so you can do that all, you can save it, you can do it throughout your life, you can go back and redo it. This is content that will always be valuable for you throughout your entire life. But the primary challenge for this week is every single day. Now that you know what you resent, are you ready to be free from it? So you're writing an exhaustive list of resentments. And then the question is, for every single day this week, what are you angry about today? What do you resent? Write it down and then write a new way of using this feeling as a guide to greater healing. So for example, it'll say Monday, I am angry at, bam. It could be anything. I'm angry at myself because I didn't give myself enough time. I'm angry at blah, blah, blah. I'm angry at that I have to go to work, whatever it is. I'm angry at Suzanne down the block because she didn't say hi to me, whatever it is. I don't have a Suzanne on my block. Do you? Anyhow. Okay. I am angry at blank. This anger is showing this about me and about my heart. Anger will point you to you. Find yourself, find what hurts you, what scares you, what is rising up in you that you need to protect yourself with anger. That's what you want to get closer to you. So now that you know, oh, it's because you know what, I feel insecure. I don't think that people on the block like me, or I don't know what anybody would really value about me. Whatever it is, you need to know the truth about yourself so you can be free from it. Now, the next statement is, I am now caring for my heart in this way today. This is how I will choose to self-love. So now the next step is, I feel angry at Suzanne because she didn't say hi to me. And it's really what the real reason is, because I really feel less than her. I feel like really people don't typically like me, blah, 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 I'm making this up. And now we're looking at a core belief, I'm not good enough, blah, blah, blah. Now the next step is, how am I pivoting? How am I going to care for my heart? How am I going to pivot toward healing in this way? And this is how I'm going to choose my self-love. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to say, wow, Allison, hey, you really have that tendency to feel less than. And let's not focus on Suzanne. Let's focus on that feeling. And how actually accurate is that? And do you want to live in that today? And so maybe for today, Monday, I'm going to take a look at how I'm defensive or positioning myself in such a way to avoid the feeling of feeling less than. How can I create a sense of self-love or a sense of value that I, number one, do not equate my value with other people's thoughts, feelings, or opinions of me. And I'm going to make that as a decision for my life today, but not in a defensive, angry, hostile, angry way. I'm going to make it as a decision of self-love. Like, what's not to love about me? Of course she loves me, and I'm lovable. And just, I said something once to one of my clients, like I said, hey, if this is filled with water, right, and you don't drink it, right? Is this drinkable? And the question is, yes, it's drinkable, right? Just because now, if you don't drink it, does that mean that this cup isn't drinkable? No, it's still drinkable, but it wasn't drank from, whatever the word is. Okay, ladies, so this is your challenge for this week. You're going to be really on top of what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and like how you're processing it, how you are blindly, and most people are blindly experiencing anger without even realizing it. Our culture is going to support that. Remember, our culture here in this membership is really exclusive in that we're doing things that other people aren't doing. We are going to think differently. We're going to have a growth mindset. We're not going to think in terms of what the masses are thinking, because we're not going to be mediocre. We're going to live our life in love and in integrity and in a state of well-being. So I just want to just bless you. I hope you enjoy this week's challenge, and I love you. And I will be there to cheer you on. Okay. Have a great, great rest of your night. It's about 4 o'clock. It's being released. And so I want you to start with today, what you had resented or not, or whatever. Okay. Have a great day. See you in a day or two.